Welcome to REI Roundtable, where we interview real investors that are active in the market right now. This is the exact type of show I wish I'd had when I got started more than 22 years ago. And today we have a treat for you. We have all the way from Tampa, Florida, we have Raphael Vargas. Welcome.
Thank you. I feel welcomed.
And I am your host, Rob the House Guy, and we're going to dive deep into wholesaling and the way Raphael's doing it a lot different than most folks are. So Raphael, let's start. Because you're such a young guy, why don't you start with your story of when you got started and how you got started and bring us up to where you are now?
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Rob, amazing being here at Realeflow. I know you have an amazing product for CRM and investors. But the way I got started I actually got started at the age of 20. So I got started at the age of 20 and, just like everyone else, dollar and a dream, grew up, mother and a mentally disabled brother. Didn't really have a father figure at that time in my life. And so I knew I had to kind of man up in the house. And so from there, I was working a dead-end job getting $13 an hour. And, $13 an hour really wasn't supplying a lot. And I said, I knew I had more for my life. I knew God had more for me in my life. And so I started, looking at entrepreneurship, MLM companies, and this guy came into my job one day and he said, hey, dude, he looks super successful. I said, hey, what do you do? He said, I do real estate wholesaling. And I said, I don't know what that is, but can you teach me what that is? He looks super successful. And he said, yeah, I'll teach you, pay me $3,000. I'll teach you everything you want to know about it. It was my entire net worth. I had to sell some of my shoes, my music equipment. I used to be a producer to come up with the money to pay him. Once I paid him, he actually didn't teach me anything. He left and didn't teach me anything. And on top of that, I got fired from that job. At the same time, my girlfriend broke up with me. I was going through some real hardships at that time, and my mother was working 2 jobs trying to support us and go to college. And so we had to neglect, unfortunately, my mentally disabled brother at that time. So all this stress was in my life. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make this real estate investing thing work. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make wholesaling work. And just became resourceful. Went online, YouTube, Google, how do I wholesale? How do you make $1 million in real estate investing, wholesaling? And I knew wholesaling was good for me because there's no cash or no credit, which is exactly what I didn't have, credit or cash. So from there, 9 months struggling, pushing, working hard, going 3 days with no sleep and no food and just a lot of prayer and guidance from God. And then from there, 9 months later, closed my first deal, which was $30,000. My first deal at the age of 21. And then from there, scaled my company to now, doing millions and millions of dollars a year. And, last month we locked up right around 60 deals in 8 different metropolitan markets. I've retired my mother 100%, so she doesn't work a day in her life ever again. I take care of my mentally disabled brother. I, employ over 25 people. It's just incredible. I'm 27 years old. I own commercial assets. All my assets are worth right around, $10 million. I'm under contract on an $8.1 million asset right now. Taking those fees that I've made in wholesaling, invested into commercial real estate, and scaled our wholesaling company. So, long story short, that's who I am.
So from 20 years old, taking your last $3,000, giving it away to a scam artist.
Yeah.
So now at 27, you're talking about owning $10 million in real estate.
Right.
Wow, what an amazing story.
Yeah, thank you.
And now, how many houses are you doing a year, would you say?
Roughly, we're doing a few hundred houses, about 400. Last year we did right around 350. This year we're probably going to do around 600, so 600, 500 to 600, right around that range.
In 1 year?
So 1 year, yeah.
Wow.
We're super excited. And again, this is, the only way to do that amount of volume is by opening up multiple different markets. When I was in D.C., I used to have such a small mind in Washington, D.C., and there's huge hits, we've made in D.C. I've made a $300,000 assignment fee, $250,000 assignment fees in D.C. for development type projects. But, I was so stuck in just my one market, and I said, how can I expand past this $1 million a month, $1 million a year mark? And it was opening up multiple different markets. So from DC, I went to Tampa, then to Philly, then to Atlanta and Charlotte and Baltimore and all these different markets. So that's really how you start scaling your organization.
So are you wholesaling residential, commercial, or both?
Mostly residential. Our scaled operation is residential, and we're acquiring commercial assets. So we used to focus on development in DC because that's what we knew really well, but now we just focus on scaling single family.
So, all right, let's focus on that DC deal. $300,000 assignment fee. Was it a cash buyer?
Cash buyer, yes.
Okay, I was going to ask how you got that through a bank assigning $300,000.
Oh no, it wasn't through a bank. It was actually through cold calling. We were cold calling 4 units, 4plexes, and this gentleman had a 4plex, hated it, wanted to get rid of it. His tenants weren't paying, and he said, "If you buy it from me for $300,000, I'll sell it to you." And that 4plex actually had to play to pop the top, add 4 more units, convert into an 8plex, multiple different condos, and so we secured it for $300, resold it for $600,000 to a cash buyer.
Okay, so when you say resold it, you did not actually put the other floors on. You put the floors on a plan and said, here's a good idea, man. Why don't you buy this and go ahead and add on to it?
No, actually, we didn't even do that. We just simply secured the contract, and we understood the zoning rights in D.C., and we communicated with a couple of developers in the area to say, hey, what is this potential? And they told us, hey, you can add another level and add 4 more units on this building. So once we knew that, we marketed the asset in that fashion, and so a developer, no-brainer, picked it up, $600,000.
All right, so in all your markets right now, are you saying you're finding more on-market stuff, or you're grabbing your own leads from off-market sources?
Yeah, to be honest, everything that we do is off-market, right? So we do a lot of direct mail. I mean, I think last month we sold send 170,000 postcards in a month. So we do a lot of direct mail, a massive amount of cold calling as well. So homeowners are consistently, we're adding leads to our sales floor in Tampa, Florida, from all these different markets. So these calls are coming in to our sales team. We have access to the multiple listing service to make offers right there over the phone.
Wow, that's amazing. I know, as a shameless plug for Realeflow, of course, they are doing the postcards for like 35 cents out of there, and they have the artificial intelligence now, so you can start building those lists. I'm not sure if that's ones you're using or not, but 170,000 postcards, man, you are definitely buying a few mail trucks with that.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So let's go to conversions real quick.
Okay.
Let's talk about conversions. You said 135, or let's just call it 100,000 postcards, just for round numbers. How many calls are you getting off that? What percentage?
Roughly, I mean, it really depends on the postcard, but it can range between 1% to 2%. I would say the average is like 1.3, 1.5.
Out of those, how many deals are you pulling?
This is the way that I break it down. So with direct mail, it's about 1,500. So 1.5 would be about 1,500 calls out of 100,000 postcards. So out of 1,500 calls, our conversion rate of lead to actual contract is roughly around 40 leads to actual contract. And then it's, hey, how many contracts you secured? What is the percentage of contracts that you secure that you actually close on? Because as wholesalers, you guys probably already know that you lock up a deal and then you might not actually sell it, right? There's probate issues, there's title issues, you got it too high. And so from there, we're converting about 40 leads per contract. And then our contract to close ratio is between 50 to 60%. So for every 10 contracts, we'll actually close on 6 of them.
Okay, so let me break this down. Let's go back to your close. Define close. You mean close in you've assigned it, or close that you wrote a check and closed it?
Closed it, they closed, the deal actually closed.
The deal closed. How many are you closing personally versus assigning?
None. We don't close anything. Everything that we do is either a double close or an assignment. So double close or assignment, that is strictly all we do is wholesaling. There's no risk in that. So if the market was to correct, we're under contract on 65 different assets right now in 8 different metropolitan markets. So if the market was to correct and all these values drop 40%, 30%, I'd lose out a lot. And so because we hold the contract, if the market was to correct, we would lose our earnest money deposit, but significantly less risk than actually owning the asset.
All right, so no intention on ever closing.
We do have intention on closing because we do have the funds to close.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
I know.
We do have the funds to close,
gotcha.
so we do have intentions on closing ourselves if we ever need to.
So awesome. You have the intent on closing. That's all that matters. And there's so many people that get caught up in the logistics of they're the naysayers. They want to try to find all the problems in wholesaling, so they never want to get started. And if they are seeing someone successful like yourself, they want to poke holes in their organization to show why it doesn't work. But let's forget all that stuff and let's move forward and talk about how you did make it work on such a large scale in 7 years. And I'm going to be honest with you, man, I do like 100 houses a year. I've been doing this 22 years. And I'm sitting next to you. I am truly interested. Like, oh my gosh, you're 6, 7 years in this business and talking about doing 600 houses.
Yeah.
You definitely have some systems and processes that I'd love for you to share. So let's start out with where was your first point of scaling? Like when you started adding more people on and not just being a solopreneur?
Well, I do want to touch back on this topic, and this is actually an important topic, is being too scared to actually get started, right?
Yeah.
And, to be honest, when I first got started in the business, I didn't have the contracts. I couldn't afford the contracts. I literally got a free contract from Google that I downloaded, and obviously this might not be legal in any regards, but it was a simple contract from Google that I just got. And that's what I signed with homeowners. And so I think what a lot of new investors are scared of is they have to get everything right. They need the contracts, they need the perfect marketing, the perfect script. And look, just get started. At the end of the day, I want your people to know that you don't have to have everything right. It's important to get started. But to answer your question, it's just about scaling your organization. It's about putting the right people and the right processes in the right positions in your business. So for us, the first start was getting a CRM, right? So once we had a CRM, that was what, kind of put together all the leads. All the leads were coming in. We send out marketing, direct mail, cold calling, RVMs going out, and leads would go into the CRM. Then we have salespeople calling back those leads or taking those leads live on the CRM. More leads, about 100 to 150 leads a week per rep was what we were averaging. So now, if you get over 150 leads on a weekly basis, you hire more reps. And so that's simply what we did. We hired more reps that answered the phone with these homeowners, acquisitions reps, right? So as you hire more acquisition reps, what they do is they take these calls live with the homeowners, make offers right from the MLS. So they look at the MLS, they look at the cash transactions, which I'm sure your system does as well, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah, so, look at the cash transactions in a 1 mile radius and you say, what are my investors paying for? Because that's your clientele is, once you have that house under contract, your clientele are the investors in the area. So you're really making offers based on the cash transactions. So that's what they did, and we made offers to homeowners in 7 minutes, and from there we secured a lot of contracts. Once they get the contract, we give it to our dispositions department, who then manages the relationships with the buyers, investors, and they sell the contract. And we have a transaction coordinator facilitating the transaction process, and that's how we do it.
All right, look. We touched on a lot of things there.
Yeah.
Your 7-minute decision-making process.
Right.
Clearly, you could make a decision in 7 minutes. Right. How are you training your team so well to make a decision on buying or locking a house in a contract in 7 minutes?
Yeah, well, one is there's not that much risk on our contract. So we put a $500 earnest money deposit, and we still have a 10-day inspection period in our agreement, right? So 10-day inspection period allows us to secure a contract even if we got it too high. That's okay. It's not a big deal. So we make sure that our acquisition team knows that, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get a property potentially too high. So one is, the way that we're making offers in 7 minutes is, again, looking in a 1 mile radius and looking at the cash transactions. It starts with the marketing, though. We target zip codes where there's a lot of cookie cutter type homes. So if we have 123 Main Street, 125 Main Street, which is a comparable that 125 Main Street LLC just purchased for $100,000, we know that they're so similar in style and facade that most likely 125 Main Street LLC would purchase our property on 123 Main Street, right? So we just know, hey, if this guy is buying it for $100,000, there's another comp for $110,000, there's another comp for $105,000, we know that we can probably sell to an investor for around $100,000. So we would just make that marginal difference between $90,000, $80,000, and what we offer the homeowner, which is the $80,000, $90,000, and then the $100,000 for what we sell.
All right, so not a earnings disclaimer here saying that this is what you make on every deal, but What is your target on assignment? If you're trying to assign a contract, what is your target number or percentage?
Yeah, target number around 15,000.
You shoot for $15,000 per assignment.
Correct.
Is there a point that you just drop off and said, it's not worth it, I'm not messing with it? You have a contract, you can only make $1,000 on it or something, do you say forget it?
No, actually, we'd make $2,000 on deals sometimes, $2,000, $3,000. So 100% no. We try to make every single deal work because we want to perform with the sellers and we want to perform with our buyers as well. So it's not necessarily as much as how much we're making, but it's more about making sure we keep a good reputation with sellers and buyers.
And can you keep the deal alive? That's perfect.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, you're dealing in so many multiple markets in different states, different cities. Mm-hmm. Do you have a preferred title company that you're using with all of them, or do you just have different ones in different cities?
That's a great question. And actually, we build relationships with the top wholesalers in every single market that we're going into. And we ask them, hey, what's your preferred title company? And typically, they'll shoot out the bag exactly who they use, and that's who we build a relationship with.
And now, who are you using to go out and your 10-day inspection? Are you actually sending one of your potential buyers out there to inspect the property and do the pictures for you?
Great question as well, actually. So what we do is once we secure that contract, we then go through, our transaction coordinator goes through her steps. So she contacts the homeowner, builds rapport, sends it to the title company, and then she calls a runner. So we hire a runner in every single one of these markets. That's typically a licensed real estate agent that goes out. We pay them about $50 per picture to go out, go to the pictures, $50, and go take pictures of the property.
$50 per property.
Property, yes, I'm sorry.
I was like,
Per property, yeah.
I'd be taking a lot. I want to be your picture guy because I'm going to burn up the camera.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so $50 per property, and then when we get buyers to go in there for showings, we pay them another $50 for going out there and facilitating the showing with the buyers and the sellers. So,
wow, perfect.
Yeah.
So this is how you're doing this in a market like that. You're taking a runner to go out, get you the pictures. You're uploading them.
Yeah.
At this point. All right. So now let's get to the part you're getting ready to market your contract.
Correct.
What are you using? I mean, I know Realeflow, shameless plug. Realeflow has the sell point that we load the pictures into. It can send the link out. Mm-hmm. Are you using a particular system, or are you using Dropbox, or?
Yeah, we use Dropbox. So the runner would go upload all the pictures to Dropbox. As soon as those pictures are uploaded, TC puts together the entire email campaign. So we use ActiveCampaign to send mass emails out. We have like 25,000 buyers, something crazy like that in our system. So it goes out to all our buyers, and then they simply email us back if they're interested. We also have automated dialers, so our sales guys are dialing out their individual buyers on their dialer, reminding them about the deal that we just emailed them.
So launch, you just, like in Realeflow, you're launching this thing out.
Yeah.
Instantly, those numbers are in there too. So you have dialers following saying, hey, just emailed you a deal, take a look at it. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you are definitely on top of it.
Yeah.
Now you have 25 guys and girls in your office.
Yep.
Are these W-2s or just 1099
Well,
sales
25 people in total, so some are 1099. Mostly, most of the ones, everyone in the office is a W-2 employee, though. Yeah.
Okay. Are they commission sales? They get commissions and all this?
Salaries.
Oh, they're all getting salaries.
Yes.
They just have quotas to meet.
Salaries and then bonuses. Yeah. Salaries and
Nice.
bonuses, yeah.
Now, did you start out that way, or did you start out?
Yeah, no. When I started out, I couldn't pay. I couldn't pay a nickel and dime to anybody. I hired a couple of my buddies to make cold calls with me, and yeah, we would give them a percentage of commission. So yeah, the way that I would recommend anyone starts out is giving them a percentage of the commission of whatever deal you have. If you're bringing people on, trying to scale your organization, so that's obviously not how I agree. You should start off with paying salaries, but that's how we do it.
Okay, yes, you have such an active business. There's so many questions, so I want to kind of keep driving and
Yeah.
All right, going back here now, you're talking about sending an email. Mm-hmm. Clearly, if you're buying 60 deals in a month at a time, that's going to be a minimum of 2 emails a day going out. Do you find your list is getting beat up?
You know what? No, because we secure great assets. So we do a double check on every single asset that we secure. We always do a double check. So our head of acquisitions that manages the acquisitions department, they approve the deal. And then when it goes to sales, we then reapprove the deal to ensure that it is a actual deal that our buyers will like. And so I don't feel like we're beating up our list because we're providing them consistent value, consistent deal flow. So not at all. I don't think so.
What would you say your open ratio is, having that many emails going out?
From what I've seen, I think it's around 15 to 20%, roughly. Wow. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then guessing on outbound calls. How many outbound calls are you generating with these auto dialers?
You know, it's an automated dialer. We use a company called ZenCall, which is a triple line dialer. And so, you know, I would have to see, but roughly they get around contacts, like voice to voices, between 40 to 70 on a daily basis. So pretty good amount. It doesn't necessarily go off dials, but it goes off with contacts. So we're getting around 40 to 70 contacts on a daily basis. What's cool is that we actually hire a whole team of virtual assistants. We have like 10 virtual assistants that are, getting buyers lists consistently, going on the MLS, looking for those LLCs, skip tracing them, and then adding them to our buyers list. So as our guys are calling, immediately new buyers are going to the top of the dialer. And so they're calling new buyers and refreshing the list consistently. So our VA team, they're like our buyer builder team. So they're getting leads. They're getting buyers from Facebook groups. They're getting buyers from the MLS. They're also getting buyers from purchase lists that we buy from Atom Data or List Source, all these other resources, skip tracing these buyers and then adding them to our buyers list. So our buyers list is always growing and our salespeople always have new people to talk to.
Awesome. Now, one of the challenges that I have found in this business is distinguishing a real buyer from a new wholesaler that was just a ballroom graduate. And because everyone wants to buy it, I'm like, all right, are you really going to buy this? Are you really going to close? I have real proof of funds. Don't send me a generated letter. How is your team deciphering who's a real buyer versus just another wholesaler just going to take your deal and pimp it out?
You know, that's a great question. You know what? We love working with wholesalers. You know, we love working with wholesalers. So we tell our wholesalers, you know, hey, just letting you know, we work with wholesalers all the time. All of our deals have great spreads in them. So typically wholesalers, you know, I've had a wholesaler make $20,000 on top of the price that we were asking. And so the way that we sell our deals is we have a buy it now price. So we're not like getting all of our investors like, hey, you know, give me your best offer and we'll see what we can do. I feel like we've lost a lot of relationships when we were doing it that way with investors. They hate bidding wars. They do off market and they work with wholesalers for the reason of not doing auctions, right? Not going to bidding wars. And so now we have a price that's called the buy it now price, and it's, hey, if you can make that offer and you can get to the buy it now price, whoever can get that price puts the EMD in first, gets the deal. And so now we've trained our buyers to move quickly, because for us, it's not necessarily about making the most amount of juice we can squeeze out of every deal. For us at this point, it's about dispositioning massive amounts of product, right?
Now, how much earnest money are you taking on these deals to keep people?
Everything is different. So typically, you know, every deal is different, and typically it's actually off of the assignment fee. So if we're making a $50,000 fee, we might, you know, put $10,000 in earnest money, even though the house is only $100,000. So every deal is different. We've negotiated lower on larger properties, and typically if it's a larger property, higher earnest money. But I think, I got to talk to my sales guy, but I think it's $5,000 for every $100,000 is like kind of our standard rule of thumb.
How much time do you give them after they give you a contract? Are you giving them a long inspection period?
No, our buyers don't get any inspection period. So we get all of our buyers in the property, and no, we never sign an assignment with an inspection period with the buyer. Perfect. So because then we're locking up a deal with a buyer that can back out last minute, and then we're not performing with the seller. And that's our main goal, is we want to perform with our seller, you know, and that's our responsibility, whether it's us buying it or the other buyer buying it.
Are you going directly to your new buyer right now and letting them know this is an assignment and this is how much your assignment fee is? If you're buying a house for $50,000, you sell it to them for $65,000, you're saying, hey, you're paying $65,000, and then send the assignment, you're saying, I have a contract for $50,000, you're going to give me a $15,000 assignment.
That's a great question as well. So what we actually do is we'll send them the purchase agreement, and we'll black out the purchase price that we have with the seller. So they can see all the terms, but the only term they can't see is how much we have the property under contract with. And so it'll be a 4-page document. Our purchase agreement is simple. It's 2 pages. We like to keep a simple purchase agreement with the sellers because we lock up deals over the phone. We send them a DocuSign. We want to make that contract as simple and easy to read and comprehensible as possible for the seller. And so we send them that purchase agreement and then the assignment agreement to the buyer. The purchase agreement has a blacked out, no purchase price in there. So all they see is the gross price that they're buying the asset for. So it'll say $100,000, and we could have got the deal for $50,000, $80,000, it doesn't matter.
So you do not spell out an assignment fee amount in the assignment. You just say, this is the gross price you're paying, and the difference between the contract and this is the assignment fee.
Correct, exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's great stuff.
Thank you.
That's really great stuff. All right. So we've probably done a lot of mind blowing now, people, because you were just like I would say, drinking through a fire hose. We're just rapid firing, but you are definitely the real deal, because I go through this stuff day in and day out, and it is like, I know what you go through to make all these deals happen.
Yeah, man.
So it's not easy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about mindset. I mean, let's talk about, what keeps you going and how you have that belief system that this is going to work, and how you can go and lock 60 houses in contract. Like, how did you get to that point and fighting through all the adversity, thinking what they fall out, what if we get bad Google reviews, bad Facebook posts?
What got me started was I used to think, hey, if one man can do it, another man can do it, right?
Yeah.
And that was the first thing that got me started. If I knew that someone out there was doing this, I can do it. Right? If someone out here is building a $1 billion organization, I can do it, right? And that's always been my mentality. If one man can do, another man can do. And so that's what got me started. That's what got me closing my first deal. And I think I was in such a desperate spot that I wasn't concerned if, I didn't have the contracts right, the deal fell through. I was so desperate to just get a deal done to help my family out and get me closer to where I wanted to be, becoming a multi-million-dollar real estate investor, right? That's where I wanted to go. And so, to answer your question, the mentality that I have now is it's more purpose driven, right? So now we have a successful company doing a few $1,000,000 a year in my wholesale company. I have assets, and we have our amazing education company where we're training hundreds and hundreds of people on how to scale their organization and, create amazing results in their wholesale organization as well. So now it's more about purpose. And so my purpose and my vision is to create leaders nationwide, dominate markets, dominate real estate markets, dominate business markets, become the best person, and then give millions of dollars, right? So giving millions of dollars has always been a passion of mine. For me, I'm stewarding God's wealth, and it's not for me. I'm not going to take it to the grave, right? Like Drake, right? I'm not taking it to the grave. I'm here to give it back, right? I'm going to create this wealth, give back. So that's always been a passion of mine. Two, creating leaders, because I had terrible leader examples when I was first starting out, father not around at that time when I needed him, and mentor robbing me. I knew I wanted to be that amazing example for other young men that were going through tough times. When I got kicked out of high school and I went to an alternative school, everyone that was around me were gang members and affiliates and all this crazy stuff, and they were just like terrible examples, right? They led me down a bad path to even a worse path, that almost got me killed and murdered on multiple different occasions. And so I wanted to be a strong example for the youth. I want to be a strong example and a strong leader for all of our mentor students that we have. So that's what drives me every day. And then the last one, which is dominating markets, I want to give all the glory to God. And I feel like if I'm number one in every single business, you can't help but look at me. And ultimately, if you're looking at me, you're looking back at God. And all the glory that I give is to God, because God knows I cannot be here sitting at this table with you. I should be dead right now. God knows that I'm here alive, thriving because of him. And so I give all glory to him.
Amen, man. That was amazing. Yeah, that's so cool that it's not, and I hope people realize that. Everyone wants to get in real estate because it started out all about the money. Like, oh my gosh, we had that episode earlier about just surviving to thriving. Right. And that's where we all started. I was like, I just want to do one deal, then two deals, and three. And then you get to the point that you want to buy Lamborghinis and all the different cars and everything. But then how many yachts can you water ski behind? It gets to a point you're like, all right, I got to do something good with my time, with my money and all my resources, and give back some of the things that you were not given as a child.
Amen.
So it might have been a rough start for you, man, but it definitely put you in a good place.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's give some advice to somebody, a good takeaway, something you've learned that if someone was just getting started out and they were afraid to make that initial jump, what would you tell somebody like, hey, do this?
My advice to the young person out there, even the person getting started in entrepreneurship, regardless of your age, you have to go all in. And that's what I did, and obviously got me to where I'm at today. So go all in, burn the boats.
Go back to the moment that you realize you've made it, and now you realize that you could retire your mother. Mm-hmm. How was that moment? How did that feel? And how did you put her there and let her know, Mom, the struggle's over?
You know what? One, she was working a job, and I remember she was making I think $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year. She finally went to college. She got her degree. I was so proud of her, and she was staying. The way I get my hustle is from my mom. I remember watching her work 2 jobs and then go to school at nighttime, staying up all night, not going to sleep, and then going back to her job, going to university. And so that's where it drove me so much watching her do that. But when I retired her, I remember her coming every single day. And she hated her job because her boss was nagging and angry and called her names and just nasty stuff. And I remember I was so furious. I was like, I'm going to beat up your boss. He used to say nasty stuff, just terrible leadership. And then I remember one day I was thinking to myself, and I started really scaling my company up. I went from DC to Tampa to this and that. And, we're doing over $2 million a year at that time, $3 million a year. And now I remember looking back and I'm like, why can't I retire my mom? I was like, I can do that. I have these rental properties. I have my income coming from my wholesale company. I 100% can retire my mom. And I remember I told her, I was like, go into your job and tell them you freaking quit. I didn't say freaking, I said something else, but I was like, tell them you quit. And she's like, wow. I was like, Mom, you're not gonna work anymore. You're done. You're not working again. I'm taking care of you from now on. I'm gonna put you on salary. You're done. Never have to work a day more in your life. And literally, I remember picking her up from work that day, and she went in, quit, like that, quit, and that was it.
And you looked at her and said, I was joking, Mom, seriously. You didn't really do that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, man. It really was.
That is.
So it's been 2 years where she loves what she takes care of my little nieces. She takes care of my brother now, and I mean, she's just, it's just incredible. I think the most amazing thing about it is not just the money that I'm able to pay for her, take care of her and my mentally disabled brother. It's the peace that I see, because there was so much distress in my house. We used to fight and cry and all this stuff. And now when I see her, she's glowing. I mean, she's glowing. And I think whenever I see that, it makes my heart warm, because I see that and I'm like, I can't believe that a kid that no one believed in, that 20 years old, no high school education, no college education, can go and build a multi-million-dollar company in real estate wholesaling, scale to this degree, buy assets, retire his mom, and change my mother's complete emotional status, and my brother's too. I mean, he's the same way, glowing. He's an angel, and he couldn't do it for himself. He's mentally disabled, and so he could never do it for himself. And so, it's just an incredible feeling, man. It really is. It gets me emotional even.
That is far beyond any monetary thing you could ever buy, any vacation you could take. That is like to see that, knowing that without your hustle, that would have never happened. Amen. With her college degree, with the best job she could get, the promotion she could get, because she'd have never had that peace, because she would have always had that negativity from the employer pushing her down, which amazes me how some of these companies, how they have negativity as leadership.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's such an old school way of thinking.
Yeah.
All right, so clearly you are a hustler.
Yeah.
Clearly you work hard. So I want you to take me through Raphael's day. I want you to take me, it is morning, or maybe you get up at noon, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I doubt that. Yeah. Start me out all the way through your morning routine in detail, through the evening, and how does it go?
How it is now is wake up early in the morning. So I have multiple different companies, commercial acquisitions, my education company, my wholesale company. Those are my three main companies that I'm focused on. So, wake up in the morning. I wake up around 6 o'clock. And the first thing I do is, prayer. I immediately always fall to prayer. And I journal really simply. I journal, what I feel like is on my heart that day. What's on my heart? Because I think everyone in life needs wisdom. I think the reason why I'm at where I'm at today is not because of all these, because I'm so smart, because I'm not that smart. But, one thing that I do is I consistently ask for wisdom, and I think that's the reason why I'm at where I'm at today, is that I always seeked for wisdom. I sought for wisdom from other mentors, most importantly from God. So in my journal, I'm seeking for wisdom every single day. I'm just like, hey, I have this going on in my life. What is the right decision? And I'm journaling to God pretty much, or your universe, whatever whatever your believer, people that are watching this believe in. So I'm journaling, and I find a Bible verse that literally relates to what's going on in my day, and that's it. I journal. That's what I do in the morning time. Once I'm done with that in the morning time, I'm off to the races. I'm going straight to the office. I get to the office around 7 a.m. And, I structure my entire day. I have quarterly rocks. So there's a great book out there called Scaling Up and Traction. So we have quarterly rocks in every single one of our companies, and then we create to-dos that are supposed to be hit for that, to hit those quarterly rocks every single day. And then I calendar them out in my day. So it could be, have to shoot a podcast today, have to go, for educational, clients, have to do videos, have to do, build out something in our new CRM, et cetera, et cetera. So there's always to-dos that are linked exactly with the rocks, which are quarterly goals, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what my day is. And I go until about, I fast when I'm in the office, I'm fasting. So I fast all day, roughly until, 3 p.m., 4 p.m. And then I break my first meal, and then I go to the gym at around 6:30, 7 o'clock.
I don't mean to pause you here, but I got to ask. You get up at 6 o'clock, you're doing your prayers, you're doing your journaling, you read a biblical verse, you rush to the office, and your first meal is at 4 p.m.?
Yeah, 4 p.m. So, intermittent fasting has actually been a huge, it's been amazing for me. Fasting for me not only is a spiritual kind of discipline, but it's also, more importantly for me, it not only does it help you with your physical body, but it also gives you increased ketones in your mind, so you can think more creatively, you think more aggressively, you think more intuitively and sharp. It sharpens your mind, essentially. So there's a massive amount of ketones that are going to your brain, which is kind of the fight or flight mindset. And so it makes you more creative, makes you think quicker, sharper on your feet, whatever it is. So I fast, and then I break my fast around 4 p.m. and then I hit the gym, and then after my gym, I finish the remainder of my calories eating. I go home, and I'm typically reading with some hookah. That's my vice, is hookah. I love hookah. And then I go to sleep, and I might sleep 5 hours on average a night. 5-6 hours is a good night, and so 5 to 6 hours a night is what I'm doing. So that's pretty much it.
Wow. Yeah. I would be a complete bear if I didn't eat until 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I hear you.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I'm always asking all of our guests, and I think I already know your answers, but freedom. What freedoms has real estate given you and your family? Which clearly we know about your mother and your brother and everything else.
Freedom for me, obviously with my mother, she's retired, but freedom for me, I haven't been in the office in almost 2 weeks. I went from Costa Rica, I went to Florida to Cape Coral to go see some developments with one of our mentors, and then I went straight to Costa Rica directly with him to see more of his developments. He built 600 homes there. So I went straight from Costa Rica straight to Orlando to go teach a bunch of my clients, which we have over 150, I think right around 150 executive clients that work with me on a one-on-one basis. So then I went to train with them for 6 more days, and then I went straight from Orlando. Now I'm here in Cleveland, for another event that we're hosting, and obviously for this interview. So I haven't been in the office for 3 weeks, and almost 3 weeks, about 2 weeks, and consistently during those weeks, we did, last week we did about $175,000 in acquisitions and new deals that we secured. The week before that, we did right around $250,000 in deals that we secured. And so, our company is still cranking. And so, we have consistent KPIs that we hold them measurable and accountable for. And I have managers over our acquisition department and our disposition department. So they're managing the salespeople. And so now I'm running our company from our P&L. So it's incredible freedom. It's really cool. And so it allows me to go now and invest more in commercial assets, which is where my focused energy is.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah. So while you're gone, you had 1 week of $175,000 in assignment fees and next week of $225,000.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's deal secured, so amount of deal secured. So if we secure a deal for $100,000 and we project that we'll sell it for $120,000, that's about $20,000 in projected profit. So yeah, in average, we're securing around 12 to 15 deals on a weekly basis. So yeah, on a great week, our best week is 24 deals in 1 week. So.
My gosh, doing this at 27 years old, coming from where you came from that quickly, God is involved. You are definitely, I hope I live long enough to see you at 70 years old to see what you've accomplished. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Raphael, for being on the show. It's been amazing having you. I could literally sit here and talk to you for hours about this stuff. And I'm sure our listeners could too. Maybe we can have you back sometime in the near future.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You've been watching the Real Estate Investors Roundtable. I'm your host, Rob the House Guy, and remember, nothing works unless you...
Hey, if you're just getting started with real estate investing, the Real Estate Investing Life Cycle, a downloadable PDF which lays out the 6 foundational steps required to run a successful real estate investing business. You can download your copy today at reilifecycle.com/start. Happy investing!